Welcome back to the 240SX 2JZ project, and in this video we're going to be putting the drivetrain into the 240. But first we're going to be doing some paint work in the engine bay. So the engine bay is still fairly the original paint, faded, and has a little rust in some areas, and I just wanted to go ahead and clean it up and lay down a different color here. Also like to use Scotch-Brite pads to get into some of the tighter areas and areas that also have angles that are hard to get otherwise with just sandpaper. And you can also use different grits of the Scotch-Brite. And then I go back in here with the rotary tool just to clean up some of the edges, that way there's nothing sharp in the engine bay. Did spot a little bit of rust that I wanted to go ahead and take care of, so I went back in here and got rid of that. And then once I'm done with that, I go ahead and rinse this off to get all of the loose debris, particles of rust, and whatever else. That way when I lay down my primer and paint, it's not contaminated. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Even after cleaning it before and then doing some sanding, I go ahead and wash it down and the water was pretty dark. And here is after cleaning it up. I use some of this heat reflective tape because we all know that turbo cars get very hot, and I want to try and keep the cabin where I'll be driving somewhat at a decent temperature, so I lay this on. Now it is kind of hard to get it down just right and just perfect, but I was willing to accept quite a few creases here, being that once the engine, intercooler piping, catch can, and everything else go in, it won't show as much. And once I'm done with that, I'll go back in here with a razor and cut out holes for the brake booster, clutch master cylinder, and then even an area for the wiring harness to go through when I'm ready to put everything in. And then after I was done with that, I went ahead and masked off all of my areas that I don't want paint on. And here's just a quick overview of the tape and paper once everything has been put on, so that way I can spray freely and not worry about overspraying in areas that I don't want to. Only problem is this tape is about 2 to 3 years old, so it started to lift up after a couple of hours, but right before spraying I'll just push some pressure back on it and put it back down, and it should be fine. I went with the VHT engine enamel. It's good for up to 550 degrees, which I think is actually a little bit overkill. It also sprays on very, very thick, so you have to be really careful not to cause runs. Rain was starting to come, so I went ahead and paused on the primer job and then pushed the car back inside and figured I would continue later. One of the other things I wanted to tackle was the brake booster. So here my left hand is the S13 brake booster that came with the car. It's much thicker than the S14 brake booster that I will be using. So the S14 brake booster is in much better condition. I'm going to go ahead and freshen up the S14 one, and we'll install that in the car, which will give me also a little bit of extra clearance for the 2JZ intake manifold. One additional thing I decided to do was to get a 300ZX brake master cylinder. And here is the S14 brake booster, all freshened up with some new paint. Now once the rain went away, the next weekend I went ahead and laid down some color and clear coat, and I do like the result that came out from this. It actually laid down really, really good with the flake, but this is the cast iron paint color. Now, one of the other things I wanted to do with this swap with the 240 on the engine harness was get rid of a lot of the comfort amenities, so air conditioning, power steering, ABS, etc. I wanted to get rid of all of that because the 240 itself will not have that retained. And that's just because I was wanting to make this car as lightweight as possible. So from each wire, one by one with the wiring harness, I went in and removed the wire from the entire harness from the plug all the way back to the ECU plugs. So that way I can make this harness also lighter weight as well and make it, I guess, like a little bit more naked. Now this does take a lot of patience, and it is a lot of work. I did get rid of quite a few wires, and this is only probably halfway through the project as far as the wiring harness goes. But as I went through this, if there was at any point maybe I was questionable about a plug, if I should keep it or not, I would just walk over to the Supra just to see where everything is laid out in this swap. So I got everything removed without causing any issues and mounted it to the motor. So now it's time to bring the car over so I can go ahead and put the drivetrain into the engine bay. Now I did not get any video of me lowering it into the car. That's just because I wanted to really focus on getting this thing in without distractions so I would not chip the paint. Now, being that we are adding more power to this car, we have to address the fuel pump. So this was a fairly straightforward and easy install. Once I got the 6 screws loose and out, I was able to go ahead and remove the fuel pump assembly here. And there won't be a pump when I pull this out. I originally pulled it out and forgot to record it, so I'm showing the removal of the hanger itself, and then the next clip will be me putting it back in with a Walbro pump. I did go with a Walbro 450 liter per hour pump because my goal is only about mid 500ish horsepower, which that should be more than enough. There was this little tool that I got from Harbor Freight. It was like $15, but once you put it in here, you turn it on, it sucks all of the fuel out.
Yeah?
So the next video will be more of me installing all of the components around the engine, but for now just enjoy a little bit of the eye candy, and we will see you in the next video.